still going. They still going. Oh, they still going.
I think the Cowboys is tripping. I really don't understand what they are doing. And then not only that, when you look at the other teams in the NFC, the Detroit Lions, right, coming off a really good football season, they said, you know what, let's lock down our quarterback. That's the smart thing to do. He played at a high level, took us to the NFC Championship. You know what? Let's lock down our best receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a smart thing to do because he has really good chemistry with the quarterback. And then you just pay Decker the tackle, so you know that your offensive line is set, which one of the best offensive lines in football. Then let's go to Philly.
But before we go speaking about the Eagles, let's talk about the Lions and how the Cowboys are not crazy for doing what they're doing. Let's not forget that we have one of the biggest good problems that a team could have in having 9 all-pro players while at the same time being in contract year with multiple players. We have to consider that the Lions were able to draft the team that they have all at once in rebuild mode when they had money to pay all of their players. When we consider how the Cowboys have had to pay players like Tank Lawrence, Zach Martin, and a few other names, the contracts being so heavy to have generational talents like a CeeDee Lamb, a Micah Parsons, a Trayvon Diggs, and a Deron Bland, while at the same time the most important position in the league being quarterback and Dak Prescott needed to be paid. I'll admit that the Lions are in a great situation, but so are the Cowboys if we just kind of put some things in the right perspective and stop putting so much slander on Jerry Jones. But let's get to the Eagles.
Let's give A.J. Brown some more money because we know what he is. You know what? We don't want nobody unhappy. Let's give Devontae Smith some money. So both our 2 big-time players on the outside are taken care of. And then you know what? Let's get a little bit better at the running back spot. Let's bring in Saquon Barkley and give him some money. You know what I'm saying? So for me, everybody around you is doing the right thing and what they are supposed to do. And you're over here not paying your guys, thinking that you're about to get some different results.
Now let's get to the Eagles. Because the Cowboys is not tripping. The Cowboys have a more well-rounded offensive and defensive team, but needed to address a few things. The Eagles' offense is dynamite, but the defenses took a drop-off, and they did a good job at putting a few pieces there to not be elite, but to be able to probably hold their own a bit that would keep them in games just enough to be high-scoring with that offense.
Like, they say that they're all in, and they say they're, trying to win a championship, and they say they're trying to be competitive in the postseason, but they don't do things that other teams do that clearly are. So are you all in, or are you doing the same thing that you always do? And you draft well, you always have talent, put together a nice coaching staff. Like, you've done good things, but that doesn't mean that you're doing all of the things.
So one of the things that we did to replace players that we lost, key positions, a lot of people are down on Zeke. But as far as the draft and what we had to work with, we didn't draft a running back, but we did get Zeke back behind a decent or to good to be offensive line. I'm glad that we didn't get a running back and we drafted the way that we did to be able to show up not only a run game, but a passing game. By getting Guyton and seeing what Guyton is doing, and if he can be anything close to the grade that Tyler Smith got in his rookie year, then we got something brewing. The trade that we made with the Lions, speaking of the Lions, to get BB was also a very smart trade once again by Jerry Jones. I hope that at some point Cowboys Nation could learn how to be fans and not have so much of the outside noise get in, because just like anything else, when even in the locker room, if there's outside noise or there's players that are a distraction and the chemistry is not right, then the players don't play the same. We know that the players have been good and have played well together, but one of the problems that we have had is within the organization in itself. I feel as though that outside noise that is always a part of the Cowboys and the pressure that it brings for the fans wanting a championship and so forth and so on, we have to consider. But at some point, we have to really wake up and recognize that Jerry Jones has been an expert. Jerry Jones has been doing what he's been doing over a decade. And Jerry Jones wants to get back to winning football just as much as we do. And if not, even more.
So I don't think that they're getting too much heat. I mean, honestly, if they feel good about where they are, then I just think we should just start assessing them appropriately. But I've been saying this. Are the Cowboys actually Super Bowl contenders? Or are they just a really good regular season team? I mean, you can argue that they are in the postseason. So if you make it to the dance, that's the first step. You know, you can't win the Super Bowl if you're not in the playoffs, and they are in the playoffs. But we don't really consider every team that is playoff caliber to be a Super Bowl contender. So I don't think they're taking too much heat. I think what they did and what they put together last year was honestly one of the best years the Cowboys has put together in a really long time. And they deserve credit for that. Last year you have 9 All-Pros. Mike McCarthy gets Dak Prescott to an All-Pro season, MVP finalists. They have an incredible regular season. They're great at home. And you get nothing done. So I don't think they're taking too much heat because they're setting the standard. They're saying they're all in. Well, what did you do this offseason? What did you lose and what did you do to replace it?
And I agree with Joy. And I think that Joy has a really good take. She makes a lot of good points, as usual. But I want to address a few things that I don't think that people are recognizing.
And CeeDee Lamb. This shouldn't even be a conversation. Like, this is something you knew was coming. You should be happy that he's playing at the level where he can demand this money, and he should be taken care of. And CeeDee Lamb we shouldn't even be talking about CeeDee Lamb right now. So I can't really say that they're taking too much heat.
I have this theory that if it came down to losing one of the 3, which I would consider 4, because people leave out Deron Bland, who's also in a 2-year like Micah, and when the following season comes, as I know Jerry Jones also knows, that those 2 players would need good contracts, especially Micah, with the ability to possibly, arguably, be the most highest paid defensive player in the league. With all things considered, the one person that has a right now situation is CeeDee Lamb. And trading CeeDee Lamb for a great talent to fill in at any position that we may need, maybe a draft pick where there's not many quarterbacks coming out, so we will have to also watch for Trey Lance in the preseason, as to why my prediction of a signing would not happen to at least after week 1 or week 2 of the preseason. Jerry Jones knows what he's doing in the long game of future signings as well as current. And if CeeDee Lamb has to be traded, mark my words, CeeDee Lamb will end up in a trade. We've seen Kansas City do the same thing with Reek, Tyreek Hill, and we also know that there's other potential positions that we can get some help at in a CeeDee Lamb trade. We can get a lot of things, and we can do a good job at building wide receivers. We got wide receivers who's been waiting for their turn to be the next man up. And I feel like we have more depth there than people give us credit for. We got some guys standing out in the camp, Johnson and Brooks. We still want to see what he can do. Tolbert get a chance to step up, and I know that Cooks is going to have a much better year. Also, it allows for rotation for Turpin. I would like to see him get involved more. But I do believe that, CeeDee Lamb is the second best wide receiver in the league, in my opinion, after Tyreek Hill, which is ironic that he was also traded and the team still was able to win the Super Bowl. I think that we can make some moves and go from a stage, a form of rebuild, while at the same time being a contender if we do it right. DC Star Power.